good to see you all. My name is Phil Hall. I'm the chair of two NHS bodies, so Kingston Hospital NHS Foundation Trust and Hounslow and Richmond Community Healthcare NHS Trust, and that's quite a mouthful, I have to say. But it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you here tonight for what is our first joint annual general meeting of the two trusts. And also it's the annual members meeting for the Kingston Hospital Trust. So in terms of what to expect tonight, this has clearly been another year of challenge for the National Health Service. Everything we read in the newspapers will tell us that it's a very difficult time. Here, with our two trusts, we feel proud of what we've achieved over the past 12 months. And we feel excited about the plans that we have looking forward. So despite that sort of challenging environment, we've got a lot of achievements that we'd like to share with you tonight. And so the business of the meeting will involve a couple of presentations from executive colleagues, just to help us reflect on those achievements over the past 12 months. So in that vein, before we start tonight's meeting, I'd like to do a few thanks on behalf of the board. Firstly, perhaps most importantly, to all the staff who work both at Kingston Hospital and at HRCH for the phenomenal work that they do, as I said, in quite busy and challenging circumstances, and the phenomenal level of patient care commitment that they achieve day in, day out. So a huge thank you from the board to all of our staff. Secondly, to our governors and to the members of the Foundation Trust, to our volunteers, it is no exaggeration to say that without their help, support, the hospital could not operate. So we really appreciate and would like to say thank you to everyone who's involved in any of those capacities. In terms of the business, I believe there's an agenda. So in terms of tonight's work, what we'll do is work through it in sort of 4 bits. So firstly, I'll pass to Joe Farrell, Chief Executive, and Yarlina Roberts, our Chief Finance Officer, who will talk about, reflect on the past 12 months, but also spend a bit of time looking forward with our plans for the future. And in terms of the finance bit, I need to say some words, which is to say that as part of this evening's meeting, we acknowledge that the annual reports and annual accounts have been externally audited, and I'm pleased to say that they've been confirmed as representing a true and fair view of the Trust's financial position. So I just need to say that to you. Secondly, really importantly, we'll spotlight on one of our services, which is the maternity service, with Marion, who will give a short overview of our maternity service, which I think we are rightly proud of here at the hospital. It's a fantastic service, and we should not underestimate how much work goes into maintaining those very high standards, and Marion will talk us through those. Thirdly, at least, a report from the Council of Governors from Kathy Maker as our lead governor. And finally, and we'd really encourage you to take this up, there's an opportunity for question and answer. Whatever capacity you are, a member of the public, a member of the Foundation Trust, governor, volunteer, whatever, we're really keen to hear your questions. Clearly, you will appreciate that we're unable to talk about an individual's care or individual members of staff. But aside from those constraints, really keen to get your questions, feedback. So I think that is all I need to say by way of introduction. I will pass to the Chief Executive.
Brilliant. Thank you, Phil, and good evening, everyone. Really good to see you all at our AGMs this evening. I just want to say a massive thank you to all our staff who have turned up. Hopefully you've had a chance to understand a little bit more about some of the services that they deliver here. So thank you for your time this evening. Before I get into the sort of main body of what I want to talk through, I just wondered if we could pause for a moment and just reflect on some of the colleagues that we've lost over the past 12 months. And if I can start by mentioning John Bridges, who, for those of you who may know, he's known as John the Painter. You could always see him around the hospital, always so full of joy, energy and happiness, probably something to do with the fact that he was a Chelsea fan. And I'd just like to say, you know, our thoughts are with his family. We recently lost John about a month or so ago. I'd also like to reflect on Serge Lowry, who was a phenomenal man for anyone that met him, former non-executive director here at the Trust. He was acting chair for a while. I got to know him when I joined as director of finance and given my role on the charity committee. And I think for all of us who met and came into contact with Serge, he was such an inspirational individual, always had the patient and the community at the heart of everything. And his legacy will live on with us. He's even got me now doing a couch to 5K, which was something that he was very passionate about. So our thoughts are with Serge's family. I'd also like to mention Suki Johal, who was the lead occupational therapist on the Pamela Bryant unit at Teddington Memorial Hospital from 2017. And she was actively involved in wider work to promote occupational therapy and allied health professionals across the organisation. Suki is sorely missed by all her colleagues. Michael Cooper had served as one of our bank chaplains for many, many years, was also an honorary chaplain, and he too is sorely missed. And then Sally Ann Hakan was a lead team administrator for the Hounslow Adult Learning Disability Health Team and the Hounslow Adult Autism Assessment and Diagnostic Service, and sadly she died earlier on this year. So just a moment of reflection for our colleagues that we've lost this year. Okay. This year we also reflected, and we've been reflecting on the legacy of HRCH, so community provider established back in 2011. So, you know, almost 14 years ago. HRCH's vision was to deliver high quality patient-centred healthcare as a trust and brought together a range of services previously managed by primary care trusts in Hounslow and Richmond. And in addition to many clinical achievements over the years, we have also been deeply committed to fostering a culture of excellence and continuous improvement within the workforce. And I think that really rings true, certainly in my time at HRCH, which dates back about 4 years or so. And I'm just really proud of the dedication, skill and compassion that our HRCH colleagues have showed over those years. And in July, you can see behind, we celebrated, if I hope is the right way of describing it, our Hounslow colleagues and all of their achievements. You may be aware that they transferred to West London Trust on the 1st of July. And we're just really grateful for all the work that they have done as part of HRCH and for the communities in Hounslow. And we're really pleased to be working with Richmond colleagues who will be at the forefront of our enlarged organisation come 1st of November. So an AGM is a brilliant opportunity to reflect on the work that's taken place over the past year or so and celebrate our amazing people. And that's what we're going to do now. I think I say this every year, but it's been a year to remember. As Phil has said, the NHS is pretty challenged, to say the least, and I'll come on to a bit of that in a moment. And our services continue to be busy, and some of our services and our workforce are still recovering from the pandemic. And as you will hear, our financial position, as it is across the NHS, remains particularly pressurised as well. And you'll hear more from Yarlini in relation to that in due course. But despite all of those challenges, and as ever, our amazing staff have showed their commitment to service users, patients, and their compassion towards one another is truly inspiring. And I'd just like to thank all of our staff for the amazing job that they do. What we're going to do this evening is look forward, and we're going to share some of the achievements over the years, but this is not an exhaustive list. This year, with input from our staff and our partners and patients and service users, we've also agreed a new clinical strategy, and we're already making really good progress in its delivery, and I'll give some examples now as to what we've been doing over the past year or so. And just to remind you, our strategy is about ensuring that working with partners, we provide services that aim at improving the health and well-being of our local populations and deliver a range of more specialised services across South West London and beyond where it is appropriate to do so. We've spent some time over the past 18 months developing our strategy, which is all about improving the health and well-being of our local communities, working as one team, being more sustainable, fostering innovation and providing person-centred care. And at the heart of all of this, we need to ensure that we empower our staff to be at their best. All of this applies to how we deliver care here at Kingston Hospital and HRCH, and how we deliver services to Kingston, Richmond, Elmbridge and beyond. And if I just say a bit now about some of the things that we have done in each of these areas, we've been working to improve the health and well-being of our local populations. We've been really proud that we launched an expanded South London Children and Young People's Community Immunisation Service. This is an expanded service that delivers immunisations for all children and young people up to the age of 25 attending schools in 12 London boroughs, and is now one of the largest NHS providers of children's immunisation services in the country. We've recently refurbished our cardiology diagnostic centre, which was opened at Kingston Hospital. It's a purpose-built unit which offers a wide range of diagnostic tests and assessments, all in one dedicated space, and supports NHS England's national aim to introduce community diagnostic centres, improving access to scans and tests and reducing waiting times. We've also launched our Carers Clinical Liaison Service, which provides professional advice and support to our unpaid carers. And this has really gone from strength to strength. Since the service was established, the team has now seen more than 2,800 carers and connected them to support services, and where we're already seeing a positive benefit from this work. And this is in terms of reduced, more effective discharges and reducing the likelihood of readmissions for our patients in this group. So really important service. This year, we've also done lots of work to bring services together as one team, and I'm going to say a little bit about that now. We've been working more closely to create one team and one seamless pathway for children's community nursing, and that's for children up to the age of 18. Among the benefits we hope to see from this closer working, through a greater number of highly trained nurses able to deliver care and training, is that a single pathway and better experience for young people transitioning to adult services, and also a full equipment library ensuring that babies, children, young people and families can access the correct equipment they need more promptly. We've also begun to work by bringing services from Kingston Hospital, Your Healthcare, HRCH together to streamline the pathway for women with pelvic floor problems. Through having one single clinical team and moving specialist clinicians out of the hospital into convenient locations in the community, patients will be seen more quickly and treatment started earlier in their journey. Barriers and delays will be removed, and the likelihood of needing long-term treatment or surgery will be reduced. We also know that sedentary behaviour is a problem for patients in any hospital and can contribute significantly to adverse outcomes and increased risk of harm. We know that 10 days of bed rest is equivalent to 10 days of muscle ageing in the elderly, so we began working across our organisations and with support from local authorities, patients, carers and other non-statutory organisations on our Eat, Drink, Dress, Move programme to increase activity and mobility in our patient settings. This work is being carried out by our operational lead for physiotherapy, Jackie Holmes, and on staff education and training on Eat, Drink, Dress, Move principles. And it was recently called out by the Health Services Journal at their Patient Safety Conference. Kingston Hospital, Your Healthcare and HRCH have also been working towards a coordinated falls and fracture service to help prevent falls and fractures for our local people, reduce visits to the emergency department and reduce permanent admissions to care and nursing homes. So far, we've streamlined some of our services and referral processes, and our teams are continuing to work towards more joined up pathways and multidisciplinary working. Our ambition is to be environmentally sustainable in everything that we do. This year, we appointed clinical sustainability leads Dr. Sam Maisie and midwife Perrine Deshan to lead this work and drive staff engagement. Sam and Perrine have been attending departmental meetings and clinical forums to educate colleagues about environmental sustainability in healthcare and to raise awareness of the green agenda. Within our maternity services, our maternity team have recently implemented a project to reduce the use of plastic sheets on birthing beds, which will reduce plastic waste by over 100 kilograms each year. We've swapped our 3 pool vans to electric vans at Kingston Hospital and have replaced obsolete pumping equipment at Hang Clinic. We're also turning our food waste into energy at Teddington Memorial Hospital, and we've reduced food waste as well as improving the quality by around 35%. And we've reduced the number of disposable cups being used, which is also money saving. From an infrastructure perspective, our Trust Board has approved the investment in a project to reduce the carbon footprint of our central energy centre by about 30%, and that will be achieved by replacing gas burning boilers with electric heat pumps. We're investing about £9.5 million in sustainable energy solutions at Kingston, and we've started to introduce solar panels at Kingston Hospital and Town Clinic, and we're swapping out more LED lighting at Kingston and are starting to provide electric bikes for HRCH staff. We're focused on providing person-centred care. Both HRCH and Kingston Hospital's paediatric audiology services successfully retained their improving quality and psychophysiological services accreditation following assessments by a national accreditation body, UCAS. The Care Quality Commission is working closely with NHS England to understand the quality of hearing services for children across the country, and this accreditation ensures that patients receive consistently high quality care. We've continued with a programme to work to improve the flow of patients through the system, to improve patient experience in our emergency department and to reduce waiting times for urgent care. And we've also continued to prioritise working with local partners to ensure timely discharge of patients from our services. We've contributed to new programmes of support designed to improve the health and wellbeing of residents in care homes in Kingston and Richmond. This includes a volunteer community rehabilitation service, which has almost tripled in functional fitness and help of care home residents and patients in the community who are at risk of deconditioning or falls. We've recently launched a trial to evaluate the use of AI technology in our outpatient services. That's artificial intelligence to capture and process sound from consultants in real time and automatically generate documentation. This is a great opportunity for our trust to be among the first to use and inform the development of this technology and potentially transform the way we work. And all of this will increase our face-to-face time with patients. Thanks to the funding of Kingston Hospital Charity, we also celebrated the opening of a new purpose-built audiology and ear, nose and throat building this year. We also opened a digital clinical design and manufacturing lab, which uses high precision scanners, specialised design software and medical grade 3D printers to produce items including hearing aids, orthodontic appliances for patients, as well as surgical equipment. And we've been influencing national policy. Steve Jameson, CEO of the Royal College of Speech and Language Therapists, visited Kingston Hospital to meet some of our speech and language therapy team to ask questions and understand more about our working on the front line. If I think about the staff survey, last year our response rate was well above the national average, which is absolutely fantastic. It's a signal of how engaged our staff are. And the feedback has been invaluable in helping us to celebrate the positives, as well as give us a steer on where we need to continue to focus our efforts for improvement. We saw improvements in staff engagement, which is good news, and we can only be at our best and deliver great care when we feel listened to and valued. We also saw an increase in areas such as feeling recognised and rewarded, feeling part of the team, and being a safe place to work and always learning. We know we have more to do, and we're focused on ensuring that we are doing everything we can to support our staff. We continue to prioritise the health and well-being of our staff and introduce new initiatives and services, including a menopause nurse and an MSK support for colleagues. In terms of areas for improvement, feedback from staff highlighted areas including becoming more inclusive organisation, enhancing our health and wellbeing offer, as well as tackling instances of bullying, harassment and discrimination. And we're taking this work forward as we speak. Our innovative placement programme for second and third year nursing students at Kingston Hospital was shortlisted for the Placement of the Year category in the Student Nursing Times Awards. During their placement, students are offered first-class experts in a wide variety of fields, and the inclusion of cancer and palliative care is a unique offering which isn't usually included in undergraduate nursing placements. We celebrated our fantastic staff on International Day of the Midwife, International Nurses Day, Nursing Support Workers Day, Health Keepers Day, Admin Appreciation Day, and the National Healthcare Estates and Facilities Management Day, to name but a few. We've also continued our monthly staff awards, recognising the brilliant work of individuals and teams, as well as our weekly shout-outs as a way for staff to share messages of appreciation for their colleagues. And in November, the winners of our first joint annual staff awards were announced during a special celebration at Twickenham Stadium, generously funded by the Kingston Hospital charity and the HRCH charity. We had staff across both trusts, and we were out in force with almost 500 guests celebrating the achievements and contributions of colleagues in delivering high quality care in the communities that we serve. The ceremony featured 16 award categories which recognise the incredible breadth of talent across the two organisations. And before I hand over to Yarlini to talk about the finances, I just wanted to say a few important thank yous. So thank you to all our international nurses who make a huge contribution to our services at Kingston Hospital and HRCH. Since 1999, we've recruited over 1,000 international nurses across our organisation from over 31 countries. And this year we were proud to be awarded the NHS Pastoral Care Quality Award, recognising the support we provide to our internationally educated nurses and midwives. So a massive thank you to everything that you do. Thank you also to Friends of Pennington Memorial Hospital for their fundraising efforts and ongoing support. We recently celebrated 70 years of support with the Friends at a special event and were joined by MP Manura Wilson and the Mayor of Richmond. Thanks goes to the Friends of Kingston, who have now merged with Kingston Hospital Charity, and the Kingston Hospital Charity and all their supporters who have helped to fund some really exciting projects this year, including a new retina eye unit and a new children's cancer unit. Thank you to our volunteers. We have an incredible 420 volunteers across the hospital and in the community, and many of these volunteers are given over 10 years of service, with some as many as an impressive 40. So a massive thank you to our volunteer teams and for all our volunteers and the valuable contributions that they make. I'm now going to hand over to Yarlini to talk us through the finances.
Hard to follow, really, isn't it? But I'll try my best. So we've obviously got a joint AGM today, but currently we are two organisations. So I'm going to take you through Kingston Hospital's finances first, and then on to HRCH, if I may. So a lot of my fund has been taken already, because Phil's also said that we've had a clean bill of health for those sets of accounts. But I am very pleased to report that the audited 23-24 adjusted financial performance for Kingston Hospital delivered a surplus of £1 million, and that is in line with our plan. And included within this plan, we delivered nearly £20 million worth of efficiency savings. So that was terrific. From a capital perspective, and again, Joe's covered quite a lot in his presentation, we undertook quite an extensive capital programme. We spent about £27 million last year, and we And this included the completion of the Royal Line unit development, which included the provision of the paediatric oncology unit, which causes an enormous benefit for children undergoing cancer therapy. In addition to this, we bid for and were successful at receiving a grant for £1 million to switch all the hospital light bulbs into LED light bulbs. And that sits and supports our green agenda, as you just heard from Joe, but reduces our carbon emissions by about 80%. In addition, we committed to a multi-year capital programme, which starts our decarbonisation journey at the hospital site. And again, this reduces our reliance on gas in future years. One of the metrics that we're judged by in the health service from a finance perspective is the Better Payments Practice Code. And the idea behind this is that we need to, and we're asked to pay our invoices with 95% of our invoices within 30 days. At Kingston, we fell slightly short of that. We're at 91%, but we're making inroads to make sure that we deliver better this year. We just move on to the next slide. So if I now talk about HRCH. So again, really pleased to report that the Trust has achieved plan and delivered an income and expenditure surplus of £500,000. Again, working with colleagues to deliver circa £7 million worth of efficiency savings. Our capital investment in the Trust was £2 million, and we spent this on equipment, infrastructure, and our digital programme. As part of our environmental sustainability, you've heard already from Joe that we've invested in solar panels at Town Clinic, and that was part of our capital programme as well. In terms of our Better Practice Payment Code, we exceeded the target by paying 96% of our invoices within 30 days. So really proud of that. In terms of the next slide, please. The finance team. I just wanted to call out a few achievements and thank actually the wonderful team that I have. And this year, and Joe's mentioned this as well, we saw the coming together of two finance teams across Kingston Hospital and HRCH. And this also led to a departmental relocation to Thames House. Surprisingly smooth, actually. And the team have worked really well together. During this period as well, we also brought the HRCH payroll service in-house. Prior to that, it was outsourced. So again, bringing in and developing our own services for our staff. The team, I'm really proud to say, have risen to the challenge, and they have successfully delivered 2 sets of annual accounts, 2 sets of annual reports, both of which received unqualified audit opinions. And they're currently working through 2 sets of charitable funds accounts. So the team has continued to work really well together. They're working towards their level 2 accreditation. And I'm really proud to say that they've been shortlisted for a London HFMA Inclusion Award. So fingers crossed, they will be successful in achieving that. So if we might move on to looking forward. So you've heard from Joe how challenging this year is, not just for Kingston, not just for South West London, but nationally. I'm really pleased to confirm that we are currently on plan to deliver for 24-25 at both HRCH and Kingston. Obviously, during the year, we will be a merged organisation, hopefully, following the Governor's vote. But we are on track to deliver. And I just wanted to focus on some of the areas that we are looking at. So we're continuing to focus on efficiency and achieving value for money as a merged organisation. We're already focusing on areas that were called out by Lord Darcy in his recent report, focusing on how we can work together in making sure that care, where possible, is delivered closer to home, and only the hospital is used when there's a necessary admission or if we're doing elective work. The other thing that we are looking at doing and having a capital programme for next year is to look at focusing on our digital strategy for the merged organisation. And the coming together of the 2 organisations, ensuring the financial sustainability through transformation, allowing our people, our services and places to thrive, hopefully will see us through to next year and future years. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Eileen. And can I also just put on record my thanks to you for your leadership of the finance function and for helping us navigate what is pretty tricky waters. So thank you, Eileen. What I'm going to do just briefly now is just do a little bit of a look forward. So I'll say a bit about what we're currently focusing on, and then just sort of talk about the medium term a little bit. Just in terms of our current areas of focus, we're continuing to think about how we can develop our strategy more and also work in more integrated ways. You've heard staff health and wellbeing, as it has been for many, many years, continues to be a really significant priority for us. We're about to launch our vaccination programme, and just a bit of a public health message. It's sort of the one thing that we can all do to help collectively prepare for winter. So I would encourage you to take up your both COVID and flu vaccinations as appropriate. Safety and quality of services is also at the forefront of our mind. We know, the financial situation is challenging. However, we need to ensure that we don't do anything that compromises the safety of the patients who we're caring for, as well as delivering services to the highest possible quality at the same time. We continue to focus on urgent and emergency care and maintaining flow throughout the system, which is a joint endeavour, not just across Kingston Hospital and HRCH, but we continue to work really closely with local partners in relation to this. And I'd just like to put on record my thanks for their continued collaborative endeavours on this challenge. And then what we're also doing is working on our merger preparation, which, as colleagues have said, all things being equal, should be a month or so away, and thinking about how we can integrate services more closely. So we're about a month or so. So 1st of November is the date that we're targeting a merger. Clearly, we're in the hands of our governors, which I'm feeling really confident about. We've also got the Secretary of State who needs to approve the transaction, but I'm really excited about the opportunity that it presents, and it's the culmination of a number of years of working collaboratively and more closely in partnership with our colleagues. And this is at the forefront, isn't it, of what the government is saying they're looking for as part of the 10-year plan. So you'll have heard a bit about our strategy and the key planks within it already from the stuff that I've presented. What we're trying to do is, through our partnership and through merger, shift the balance. So you would have heard, following on from the Darcy report, the aim to shift care out of hospital close to the community, shift from analogue to digital, as well as focus more on prevention as opposed to ill health. And what we're trying to do is shift the balance of resources and focus from hospital care where it can be avoided to ensure that we are focusing more on prevention and investing closer to home and within the community. So I think we're slightly ahead of Darcy and the 10-year plan. We kind of saw it coming and we're already onto it, but it's good to see that there is alignment and consistency. And that is what gives me sort of hope and enthusiasm about what lies ahead. So we know it's challenging right now. We know it will be for the rest of this year. But I think here, Kingston Hospital and at HRCH, we've got so much going for us. And we know that everything we do puts the patient at the heart of everything that we do. So I'm really pleased and excited about what is likely to come post 1st of November in our closer ways of working. I know there's a lot more to do, but it's actually, the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning. So I think what we're going to do finally, because I know we're tight on time, we're just going to hear a little bit of feedback from some of our stakeholders. So I'm coming to you first.
Thank you, Joe. I'm giving feedback from the intensive care unit. It says, thank you seems inadequate to articulate the gratitude I feel towards all of you for looking after my body when I couldn't. I appreciate the dignity, kindness, reassurance, respect, and professionalism you showed me. Bless each and every one of you for giving me a second chance at life. Please keep doing what you do. You're amazing people.
Thank you. This is a comment from the Richmond Response and Rehab team. Salas was patient, calm, respectful and attentive. He gave great tips for safe mobility. He gave time and was sensitive to the needs of me as a blind patient.
Please feedback from the gastroscopy team. From dealing with the team from the beginning, everyone was kind, informative, professional and helpful. The clinic is calm and welcoming and everything runs smoothly. I've been impressed by the friendly staff and appreciated their professionalism. For something that was a little stressful, it was made pleasant by a great team.
So this is for the district nursing team based at Centre House. I think this summarises patient-centred care. I wanted to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for everything you did for Matt and for me over the past year. Your kindness, dedication and unwavering support have meant more to me than words can possibly convey. Matt's journey with Parkinson's disease and dementia was incredibly challenging, especially in those last few months. Through it all, you were there every step of the way, ensuring that he received the best possible care. Your coordination of his care, your communication with the district nurses, the GP, and other care providers was exemplary. But more than that, it was the compassionate love with which you did everything that truly touched my heart. Your presence brought comfort to both of us, knowing that somebody who truly cared was overseeing his care. I also want to thank you for the incredible support you offered me. There were many times when I felt overwhelmed, but knowing you were there, genuinely on my side, made all the difference. It made me feel understood, supported, and less alone in this journey. And that was a gift.
Thank you, Joe, Yalini, and everyone who's shared that feedback here tonight. Thank you very much. Now, in the interest of time, I can remind you there's an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the session. It's a huge amount of material that Joe and Yalini have presented to you. I would encourage you to ask questions or raise comments on them, but we'll do that at the end. And I'll pass over now to Mary Loki, our Director of Midwifery, for a spotlight on maternity services.
Hello, can you hear me all right? Good evening. I'm Marion, Director of Midwifery. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Really, really proud of my service, and I'm really, really pleased and honoured that you've chosen Maternity to be presented at the AGM. So I've got a few slides just to run through a little bit around the context that maternity operates in, and a few things that actually we're really proud of. I don't think anybody, unless you've slept for quite a long time, now waking up, could be not aware of the noise around maternity at the moment. There are huge amounts of reports coming at us, left, right and centre, with not great narrative, if we're honest. The very recent CQC maternity report that was published last week, does not shine us in a great light. However, I think it's really important to understand that there's some really good stuff that goes on behind those reports. And actually, many of us who work really hard to deliver some really good care to patients every single day. The national maternity reports have amalgamated into a 3-year plan now, which was published last year, with some key themes around listening to women and families compassionately, developing and sustaining a culture of safety, which benefits everyone, meeting and improving standards and structures, and supporting our workforce to be the very best that they can be. You'll see on this slide here just a few of our outcomes. We're a really busy unit at Kingston. We're actually the busiest South West London maternity unit now. The birth rate has dropped across the country, and South West London is no exception, but we're delivering the most babies. You'll see that we book a lot more women birthing people than we birth. That's because women mostly will access the services really early on now, at very, very few weeks of pregnancy. Not all of those pregnancies obviously will continue on to a live baby at the end. So you'll see that's why there's quite a big difference between the bookings and the births. We have a few triplets, sets, twins along the way. We maintain our home birth services, and our birth centre stays open all the time. And this is quite unique, I think, because many services are so stretched that their midwifery-led areas, birth centres, home birth, etc., are usually the ones that fall by the wayside, and the resources are all channelled into the more high-risk areas. But we're really proud of the fact that ours are open all the time. I walked through the birth centre this morning. I think we're up to about 56 births for September, so that's a really, really good number. There's a bit more detail about this on the extra slides. We'll move on. Our performance obviously is not only managed by our outcomes, but it's managed by what the users tell us. So we run a picker survey every year, some maternity surveys published earlier this year. These are the results from the most recent reports. And I'm really pleased to say that out of the 8 parameters we were assessed against, we were in the top 5 in London for 7 out of the 8. And you can see there actually we were top in London for start of care, antenatal checkups and staff caring for you, which is really important. The only one we slightly missed was around feeding. Our rate actually was better than it was the previous year, and we were in the top 5 the previous year. It's just others I think had done a little bit better. So we just dropped out, and we get a really good response rate at 48%, which is better than national average. That said, we do strive to continuously improve. And we're really proud of the fact that we have met the maternity incentive scheme for 5 years running. So this is around a commitment to safety. CNST is a clinical negligence scheme for trusts, which is your insurance that you pay in, obviously, that covers your outcomes and your claims. Maternity is a very, very low claimer, but very high payout when it doesn't go right. And if you meet all 10 safety actions, the Bible is like this. It's really 3 pages long, so it's not just 10 key points. They change it every year as well. And we've met that for 5 years running, so that's a really good commitment to our safety. Our HIE, which is our brain damage, is lower and has been consistently lower than the national average for quite some years. We haven't had a case actually declared to the Each Baby Counts criteria for well over a year. We've had no cases actually that have been to the what used to be HCIP and NSI now for over a year. Actually, she's contacted me, our lead, recently to ask how we might celebrate that fact and how others can learn by what we do well. So we're really proud of that. We've just been reassessed as a UNICEF baby friendly unit. This is about our commitment to feeding our babies. We are at designation committee any minute now, so hopefully we'll get confirmation that we've reaccredited at level 3, and then going forward we'll go for gold, hopefully. I've already talked about our midwifery-led care, and we've got a slide in a minute about the triage move, so I'll move on to that in a second. Most of the reports that come through nationally will talk a lot about inequalities and how we meet the people who don't always engage with services. So a lot of our work focuses on how we meet the needs of the lesser heard and the higher to reach people. But that's also about how we engage with our staff. So we really do try and listen to our staff. Aside from the usual trust surveys, etc., we recently just run the perinatal cultural development that myself and my peers have been on. We recently ran something called a score survey, which was maternity neonatal specific. And we're working through now some action plans and workshops to really pick up what the staff have said about working here. I'm really pleased to also say that we were part of a capital midwife health and wellbeing pilot for health and wellbeing for staff, and we put ourselves forward. We're only 5 trusts in London, and we've just got our Bronze Award, which we'll need to find a shelf to put that on. Triage. So triage is a big thing in maternity. It's a bit like ED. You don't know who's coming down the corridor. You do ideally need to understand why the person in front of you is there, and you need to do that ideally within about 15 minutes. The triage that we had was not in the best place. It was in Hawley Birth Centre. We had a 2-bed bay to assess women in, and we didn't really have the right provision to move them on if they were waiting doctors or they needed monitoring or things like that. So we did a huge project. It was a quality improvement project led by our birth centre, the triage, birth centre triage lead, to move the triage to a different part of the maternity unit. So we now have an area where they can be assessed immediately. We have 2 single rooms, so it's confidential, and we've got a 5-bed bay, which is now really fit for purpose, and it's a designated space. So that's working really well. And in doing that, we've made our antenatal provision much better as well, because we moved the antenatal ward out of the triage area. So that's working really well. Obviously, our staff are absolutely critical, and we can't do all of this without a really good, well-engaged, well-established workforce. And maternity services across the country are really challenged in terms of vacancies and turnover. There is a very high sickness rate amongst midwives. The job can be quite stressful. The CQC report did highlight that 22 days per head of every single midwife in the country. So we're not alone there with our sickness rates. And of course, most of our workforce are predominantly female and childbearing age. So they do tend to put theory into practice quite a lot, and keep our booking numbers up. So obviously that's lovely for them, but it does mean we are constantly recruiting. We've had a really, really successful recruitment drive this year. I met 12 new starters this morning. They've come from far and wide, which is lovely. So our reputation has got out. It's not just our locally trained students, who we did obviously offer jobs to, but they've come from Exeter, Norfolk, all over the country, and they've heard about the good things that are happening. They've heard about our physiological approach to care and the CGD, fetal monitoring. So it's really lovely to hear. We've also been quite creative about secondments and acting up opportunities just to try and retain. And the people we do leave tend to be going out of London because it's expensive to live here, or out of the country, and they can't really commute from India. Okay, our areas of focus at the moment, just to sort of get our personalised care really embedded. And this came from the last PICA report the year before, actually, around discussion of risks of induced labour. So we do an awful lot of work now around induction, and there was something specifically about talking about the risks. A bit more around infant feeding, breastfeeding, so we've got a lot more support than there. We've doubled the team actually. And the last one is more around integration with health visitors, because the 6-week check, they're normally out of our care line, and there's a bit more work to do out in the community. So just a little point around the less, not less able, but those we might miss. Our most spoken languages in our service outside of English, we discovered, were Albanian, Portuguese, Polish. So we've done some work, my consultant midwife has done some work with an Albanian speaking doula to offer that as a service for women who can't speak English, because if you can imagine being in the throes of labour in a strange country, it's scary enough, but then when you don't speak the language at all, you need somebody there who can be your advocate. So she's done some work with the Mother Tongue Project to bring that on and train the Albanian speakers to be interpreters. We've also done a fair bit of work with our women with mental health needs. Teresa's here in front. She works in the Bridge team, which is all around safeguarding mental health. They often might not engage. They have some fear of services, and they do often have fear of birth. So we've got some weekly yoga sessions for them, which also builds their confidence, and there's a lot more integrated into that session around what they can expect in labour, gives them a lot more confidence to go through the process. not all our mothers are women, and we constantly adapt to the needs of those people who don't present as female, but equally, this is a story of a surrogate with two dads. This is a direct quote from one of our dads, and I will read it because it is lovely. You demonstrated compassion to us by directly asking what we each individually wanted from our experience. Your thoroughness was perfect. Ellie, the midwife, perfectly assessed the situation and asked the open questions. Who is the baby being delivered onto? Because we would deliver the baby onto the mum, but the mum is giving that baby up to the two dads. So who wants the baby? For a surrogate pregnancy, this was perfect. Parents were treated like parents, and I was never put in an uncomfortable position as a surrogate. The care I have received is second to none, and I would have no idea that you hadn't cared for 1,000 surrogates, as everyone went above and beyond. We work a lot with our service users. So the Maternity Voices Partnership is now Maternity Neonatal Voices Partnership. And that's chaired externally by a previous user of maternity services. So we engage with them. She does a lot of sort of outreach work, runs crashes, coffee mornings, just to really try and elicit some information about what we do well and not so well. They do often coordinate the 15 steps approach with us, walk the patch, talk to our customers. And from that, we get some really good feedback about what we could do better. Obviously, our friends and family comes through every week now, and we share all the positive comments with all the staff, because we really do feel that you need to constantly reinforce what you do well. We recently ran a huge shoes workshop, so we're really honoured that one of our consultant obstetricians, Flo, was one of the founder members of Who's Shoes about 10 years ago, and that's a maternity experience. We have a huge banner up in the corridor, which had been there for quite some years, but we did another event in April this year, so we've now got a new one. So it's been updated, and we have a lot of people in that room who are service users, but also midwives and people from the RCB, just around how we really hear the stories and get things right from Black and Asian ethnic minority families. And I won't go into details now, but we have a huge research portfolio. We've just done a big shift to digital records, not without challenge, I might add, but we've done it. It was launched earlier this year, so everything is now on the CRS system, which means we have a much slimmer file for the customers. Again, reduces a little bit of the carbon footprint, less paper. It's an optional service, so if you're not digitally abled, you can still have a full set of notes. There's lots of QR codes which lead you to all the information you need. That's about it, really. Just to sort of sum up, obviously these are the things that we focus on all the time. So getting it right for our people, getting our workforce sustainable and really functioning as they should be. Transformation, constantly thinking about what we can do for quality improvement, never taking our eye off quality and safety. That's the most important thing, and just to ensure that we're fully representative of our population.
No.
So Marion, on behalf of all of us, a huge thank you. I think what really comes across in your presentation is that constant striving for improvement to find better ways of providing care to babies and families who are in your care. So on behalf of all of us, huge thank you to you and yours. So again, I guess there may be some questions on Marion's presentation, but I'll just ask you to hold those to the question and answer session, and I will now pass over to Kathy Maker for the presentation from Council of Governors.
Thanks, Paul. I think I need to speak to you every time the agenda voice events, because I always seem to come right after all of the inspirational things, and I'm like, oh, right, Council of Governors. I'll try and make it exciting. It has been quite a year. We've had the last throes of COVID, the cost of living increases, recruitment challenges, industrial action, elective catch-up, shrinking budgets, and just the daily pressure. And sadly, this is what we all think is normal now. Against this backdrop, our staff and volunteers continue to work tirelessly to offer high-quality services to to our communities. And our board has to make sure they can not only do this, but that we are constantly innovating, improving, and planning for the challenges of the future. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that it's no easy task. And we've seen so many fantastic examples this evening of the work they're doing. And I'm so proud that we continue to do this work against such a tough situation. And naturally, they've also got us governors asking awkward questions. So as you all know, the governor's role really is twofold. We have two main responsibilities. Our first really is to be the patient voice, making sure that our residents' views and experiences are heard and acted upon at a high level. And also, we need to hold our non-executive colleagues to account. And this has been a busy year for us too. So governors, one of the ways that we do gain patient voice and hear our patients is actually doing walkabouts in the hospitals with our colleagues. And this is a fantastic way of speaking to patients, speaking to staff, and really getting a feel of what's happening in the hospital. And we also hold engagement sessions where we again talk to patients, find out what's happening. And in this year, it's been really quite exciting because it's also given us the opportunity to tell our patients about some of the exciting things that are coming online as we move towards the merger. So governors also get involved in really fun things. So we're involved in the judging of the staff awards and presenting them. And I have to admit that was the most joyous evening. I just think so many people being celebrated for the fantastic work that they do. It was truly an honour to be there. And we're particularly proud of our staff governors and the work they've been doing because they've been doing a fantastic job of shining a light on some of the staff that work behind the scenes. And the recent Admin Appreciation Awards was really, it really highlighted the work they've been doing. And we really thank them for representing the staff in such a strong way. Governors have also played a really important role in patient safety by taking on the role as patient safety partners. And we've also been really pleased to support the work of the Freedom to Speak Up champions, which has really moved on this year. And we're really pleased to see that. We've been working closely with our comms team and we've supported the set up of a new members reference group, which has been established. So I'm going to speak about patients, not doing. So to give patients the opportunity to feedback on trust communication, campaigns, and activities. We're really pleased about this. We're really urging the members of the public who might think, oh, I don't like that leaflet, or I would prefer to be written a certain way to get involved with that group, because it really is your direct involvement and engagement, which we really, really value. And we continue to work with our exec and non-exec colleagues on our different committees. So we have our Policy Scrutiny Committee, which is continuing to keep a really close eye on the quality of care and patient experience. Membership and Communication Committee has really done a great job this year of trying to develop a membership offer. And we're really excited to see where that can take us as we bring on new members to our community trusts. And the Strategy Committee has had an extremely busy time. They've had to pore over this new strategy, and they've been really looking at the merger because we see this merger as such a strong enabler of our strategy going forward. And we really want to see a success. So they've done a lot of work making sure that the patient voice is heard and that we're delivering a strategy that will do the best for our communities. So I do want to say a big thank you to Izzy, Susan and Michelle. They chair those subcommittees and they do a great job of keeping those agendas moving forward and challenging our board to do more. We've also continued to work with our chair to ensure the board has the skills and experience that we need to deliver these ambitious plans. And the Nomination and Remuneration Committee has been quite busy this year, overseeing the recruitment of the chair and some key non-executive directors. So we're absolutely delighted to have Phil and Debbie, Surinder, Naz and Rosie who have joined the team. And I think we're feeling so confident now that we have the right people in the room to really lead us forward into this new next stage that we're facing. And we are in a period of very exciting change. So in the coming months, we are going to see the culmination of years of hard work when Kingston Hospital and HRCH come together as Kingston Richmond NHS Foundation Trust. And this has been a long journey. The governors have been involved with and have had oversight of this right back to the beginning when we first talked about a chair in common, which was many, many years ago, to a couple of weeks where we will vote for the merger to take place. So it's been an incredibly long journey, and we've had a really important role at each stage of the game, really. We've been here to make sure that the board's doing everything that they need to do and should do to ensure that there's a smooth process. And we've had the great honour of being able to go out and share some of the exciting benefits that this merger will bring to our residents and stakeholders, and to be back in the issues and concerns that they've raised with us. But of course, our work's not going to end there, because over the coming months, it'll be our responsibility as governors to ensure that the board is delivering the strategy and thus actually maximising the opportunity to deliver seamless and integrated care across our local community. So next month, we'll sadly be saying goodbye to a number of governors. Some of you have been with us for many years. And I would really say a huge thank you for your time and dedication. I said to Phil actually recently at the Volunteer Awards, I always find it interesting because we have our volunteers and they're fantastic and the awards are brilliant, but we don't actually ever really thank our governors. And they are volunteers and they give up a huge amount of their time and energy to try and help make sure that we're delivering what we should be. I want to say a big thank you in particular to Bonnie and Michelle, who have both done such an amazing job of chairing the Quality Scrutiny Committee. You've really both been amazing and you're going to be sorely missed. It does, however, mean that we have some vacancies. So if any of you are inspired this evening and would like to get involved, nominations are still open and you have until Thursday the 3rd of October, and the voting will go on until the 25th of October. So I'd just like to say a couple of thank yous. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Suki and Carl and Susan and the team. They're absolutely amazing. They managed terrible diary clashes and meetings and changes and paperwork, and they keep us all in check. So thank you so much for all the work you do. And Tara and Amy and the communication team, we get such fantastic information from the team now. We really feel well informed. We get updates all the time, and you give us fantastic rich material that we can then share with our residents. And thank you to Phil and Joe and the rest of the board for your leadership. We do really appreciate what you do. I know sometimes it doesn't seem like it when we're giving you a hard time, but it is our job. And of course, my fellow governors, thank you so much for your ongoing commitment and support. I'm really excited for next year, and I'm looking forward to what we'll be saying next year, the things we've achieved, because I think we're really on the cusp of something quite great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for that really positive report. And can I say thank you to you personally for the support that you've given to me since I've become chair of the trust. So thank you. But also you did steal my thunder a little bit, because I would like to say a huge thank you on behalf of the hospital to all the governors. Your job is to hold us account, and you know, at times that can be a little bit uncomfortable because you are quite good at asking challenging questions, but actually that's really, really important, and we really appreciate your feedback and your spurring us to do better and better things on behalf of patients and the local community. So a huge thank you. Our volunteers, you give your time generously, so thank you. So everyone, that actually concludes the report from the Trust Board and our annual members meeting. So I'm now at the position where we can open up the meeting to questions. So I have been given a couple in advance, which I can read out and ask colleagues to respond to. Perhaps before I do that, just invite anyone here or online if there are any questions that you have. Yes, please.
Hello there. Richard Allen, thank you very much everybody on Blackpool for excellent presentations, and congratulations on a great year. I have a multiple interest in local health, particularly in the Kingston area. And I think most particularly, for example, what we heard tonight, the fact being a grandfather to two wonderful twins who actually owe their life to the great work that was done here at the maternity department of Kingston Hospital. So it's great to have the opportunity to say thank you for that. But my question really is aimed at Joe. Joe, I know that you have said publicly and in writing that there's going to be a proper mechanism for making sure that the right degree of funding is given to your healthcare for community healthcare services in the Kingston area. Have you got any more details on that? And when do you think that's going to be finalised? And will it be published in some form?
So thank you for your question, which I guess to be clear, we hold an HRCH contract that is commissioned by Southwestern and ICB for the community services in Kingston, which is in those services being delivered by Your Healthcare. But that mechanism, until it changes, is going to continue. And we can be really clear about the value of that contract. What I can't comment on is whether community services are going to get the appropriate amount of funding, because I think that's part of the broader challenges that we face as an NHS. What I would hope, though, is that following our merger, and as we've already been able to do in a modest way, is think about how we can redirect some of the resources that is currently tied up within the acute hospital in a reactive way, to thinking about how we can start investing more in prevention, working more closely with both community colleagues and primary care, and begin to see some of a shift to the resources that we are all working with move closer to home, which would include in the provision of community services in Kingston.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Richard, for your question. Any other questions in the room tonight or online?
Someone want to come up?
There is one in the chat which Marion might want to read this and then answer it.
Thank you, Joe. Congratulations on the very low rate of hypoxic ischemia in capacity.
You not want to say that, Joe?
What do you attribute this to? Is it early diagnosis of risk, e.g. gestational diabetes, and reducing delay to sectioning? Yes. In a nutshell, it's a combination of things, but it is essentially around having really good risk assessment processes before the woman even gets into labour, really, and identification of, is that baby growing, is that baby moving? And then when they come into labour, there's a key question around, is this baby fit for labour? And you can tell that by listening into heart rates. Is it going up? Is it going down? What the mum's doing, how long the labour is. And if all things considered and looking at the physiological progress, the baby is not fit for labour, then we have an early bailout. And we always do. And that tends to keep our babies out of the neonatal clinic.
Thank you, Marion. Francie.
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you again for very. Clear question to Joe. You told us what gets you up in the morning, and I wondered what stops you going to sleep at night. What are the areas of the hospital's operation that you are most challenging?
Yeah, I think there are probably there are a couple of areas to probably call out, and it probably goes without saying, I don't normally find it difficult to sleep, so I'm quite calm and relaxed generally. But I think, our staff are always front and centre in my mind. And, they've been on an incredible journey over the past 5 years or so. If you think about, where we were before we went into the pandemic, then we went through the pandemic, and, I went to an event that Amanda Pritchard hosted, we meet as chief execs so every 6 months or so. And, the time before when we met, she reminded us that, she reminded us that we have been through a pandemic. It is a traumatic event for all of our staff, and it is likely to take 5 years or so just to recover from the sort of psychological and traumatic effects that has left us with. And then we find ourselves in a really challenged operating environment. And I think all of those things are the things that I worry about quite a bit. What more can we do? And I wish there was a silver bullet to this, but there isn't. What more can we do to help our staff be at best, be at their best when they're at work and stay well as long as possible? And, treat each other with kindness, which is kind of a really big part of my job. And, part of that is also ensuring that our patients and members of the public and relatives do the same too. So I worry about what more. I do think we're quite unique here in that we do have something that others don't have to look forward to. So the strategy, the integration journey, the merger to some extent, but that's a sort of gateway that we're all passing through. But the ability for us to do something that many other systems can't do, I think is really quite exciting. And certainly when we interview people, it's a thing that they point to. They're really attracted by the fact not only are we really good organisations in our own right, but if we're coming together and we potentially are about to do something really quite exciting. So that'd be one. And then the other one that just has been on our minds, certainly as a board for quite some time, is where we are with urgent emergency care and the fact that we know we've got patients, whether it's in the hospital or anything, they're not getting the care that they need in the right setting and at the right time. And we now see patients waiting in our corridors within ED, which is something that we've never seen, and we started seeing that at the beginning of the summer, which was quite worrying. So it's the sort of state of the system, because urgent and emergency care is a sort of a barometer for how the system is faring. I think is the other area that would be of concern to me, because we know patients waiting, particularly waiting in the wrong place, is not good for them at all. And again, we need to do what we can to ensure that we will improve flow, and in the meantime, treating patients to the best of our ability. So they're probably the two things I'd worry about the most. If I wanted a third, it'd be the money. But
yeah, thank you. That should have been transparent. I was speaking in part as a patient who came into the emergency care at 2 on a Saturday morning. But, it wasn't a wholly wonderful experience.
sorry.
Thank you for the question. So I just, before I come to you, there are two more online, which I'll just take now, and I'll just spread these out amongst colleagues. So I think the first one actually flipped off my screen, but I think it was from Marion, who asked, is there any update on building plans, specifically the intensive care unit? Now, Yarlini, would you space transfer?
I can try. So Marion, we have, as you know, put in a business case for the ITU. It is going through the process of South West London ICB oversight. There are quite a number of hurdles actually to jump through because of the capital constraints, but we have we've kept channels open with the South West London ICB, and we are also putting forward a bid in parallel to the national team because of the size of the bid. So it's in train, but it is unfortunately a long process.
Thanks, Yarlini. The next question, I'll read it out. So this is addressed to Joe. You mentioned the latest Darcy report and recommendations. Do you feel at this stage you would change your current strategic plans for services for patients?
So thank you, and thank you, Sue, for the question. So I don't think it does change our plans, because you will see, hopefully you will have seen, that there's a huge amount of alignment between our strategy and our strategic intent and the things that are likely to be picked up in the 10-year plan for health. So the Darcy report is clearly, he's laid out an assessment of the current state of the NHS and some of the things that have led us to the situation that we find ourselves in. And then you will have heard the Secretary of State talk about the need to develop a 10-year plan for health. And in that plan, he's looking for shifts from hospital to out of hospital. We've sort of talked about that already in the context of community services and your healthcare, as well as our merger, obviously. The shift from analog to digital, which we know as a board and as a set of organisations. We've got a lot of opportunity there, is probably the politest way of describing it. And then finally, there's the shift from focusing on ill health to prevention and wellness. If you think about the conversation that we just had in relation to urgent emergency care, clearly we can do all that we can to support patients be safe wherever they are in the system and support our staff be at their best while they're at work. But what we really need to do is shift the dial on the burden of urgent emergency care and think about what more we can do to support citizens, closer to home, and live the sort of healthiest life that they possibly can. And that is the thing that is going to really shift. That is really at the heart of our strategy. So I think it's helpful. I think we're really excited about the 10-year plan, because certainly locally we can use that as an opportunity to frame what we're doing, and who knows, we might be able to influence some of it as well. And just finally on the money, which is the third thing that may keep me awake from time to time. We know that there's going to be funding attached to reform, and some of what we're talking about within our strategy, I hope, will fit the bill, and therefore we might be able to attract additional resource into Kingston, Richmond and our surrounding areas.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Sue, for that question. So, question at the back.
Thanks. Liz Milbo, trustee at Health Watch Kingston. I wanted to pick up again about emergency care, and as you say, shifting the dial, Joe. I was thinking about the whole variety of initiatives that have been to try and do that, including a greater focus in primary care on people who have complex needs, looking at the data on very frequent attenders in A&E to see can they be supported in other ways, a greater focus on using 111 and so on. So I'd be interested in and plans for more triaging as well, kind of at the entry to A&E. So I'd be interested in your thoughts on the extent to which you feel that those initiatives so far are managing to shift the dial.
Thank you. I might bring some other colleagues in as well, sort of putting you on notice. But so I think, well, so a few things. So we're obviously doing a huge amount of work with our partners, and some of what you have mentioned, I think, is bearing fruit, although there is quite a tight stem. So think about the proactive care model that certainly Annette Powell's GP colleague in Kingston has been championing, that is being rolled out across both Kingston and Richmond, which, as you highlighted, this very much picks up those with long-term conditions, as well as frequent attenders to our ED department. So thinking of a more effective and appropriate way of supporting that, I think, is really impactful, and that's something that we're invested in here at the hospital as well. I think things like virtual wards, which we've had in Kingston Richmond for some time now, I think probably a step in the right direction. There's certainly more we can do here locally to make better use of that. And again, I think Annette's helping us think about how we can improve utilisation. And then certainly from a triage perspective, Bill and I were at an event a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was a winter roadshow, which the national team are running in London, was the first region to be visited. And I'll let Bill say a little bit more about both the work that they have piloted, which has been really quite impactful in relation to triage at the front door within ED, as well as some of the work that, should patients be admitted, what we do to support timely and appropriate discharge of patients from wards. But Bill, I wondered if maybe you could pick up on that.
Yeah, just to be clear, if Joe ever offers you a day out, ignore him. Yeah, so going back to the triage thing that we heard about when we were away, it's a very nice algorithm. And being a doctor, I'm quite simple in my mind. It was quite nice because it was very much yes and no. It doesn't tell you what to do, but it helps guide your thinking and it gives you that level of assurance that you're not on your own. So it helps you make a decision in a very structured way. And I'm meeting with our new chief of unplanned care tomorrow morning to think about how we could implement that at Kingston Hospital. I think Joe's already alluded to the work that's going on in the community to help reduce the pressure. I was at a meeting about 10 days ago with some local general practitioners who are starting to look at their what we call high frequency attenders to say, what can we do to stop these people coming to ED inappropriately and how can we manage them in a more structured fashion? There's a huge amount of work going on in the hospital. Joe's alluded to the triage at the front door and wherever possible now, as a patient enters the ED from an ambulance, they're met by a consultant. We do something called rapid assessment and focused treatment. So you start that diagnostic process and the treatment right from the get-go. So you don't have that delay built in while they work their way through the system. We're also implementing a number of initiatives. So we've redesigned our clinical decision unit, which is where we care for patients who only need to be in the hospital for a few hours. So they get very focused treatment and assessment from the right people, and they usually go home within 12 to 24 hours. We've really enhanced our same-day emergency care services, and we're just about to start a similar unit for surgical patients. We're hoping to start one for the frail elderly patient in the next couple of weeks. So those sorts of things help us to get the right people to see the patients at the right time as they enter the hospital. If you start a treatment and assessment right away, you can often stop them getting deeper into the hospital, so you can get them back to their place of residence, which is where they want to be, and it's the best possible place to care for them. So there's an awful lot of work going on to try and help people not come to hospital unless they absolutely need to, because we're here, we will always be here. But it's if you could be cared for in a better place, how do we facilitate that? If you do need to come to us, how can we minimise the time you spend with us? You're only with us when we're the only people that can provide that care. And as soon as that care can be provided in a better place, we can help you get there. And that's probably where we're at the moment. It's a work in progress. We're not where we want to be. You know, we do have patients being cared for in the corridor, and we have a big drive at trust board level that this must not become business as usual. And we are really focused on it as a board and all the way through both organisations. But I'm afraid it is a mark of the times we find ourselves in.
Thanks very much, Phil and Joe, and just to reinforce that is our absolute commitment to minimise and hopefully eradicate over time any corridor care. I'm conscious of time and the fact that it's a rather dark and dreary evening. I'm keen to take any more questions in the room if there was one more. If not, I've got a couple that were given to us in advance, so we'll just do these quickly. So they were from a single member of the public. Where is your plan to implement a return scheme for walking aids for reuse or recycling published? And secondly, what is your current stance on the NHS walking aid reuse initiative and the reuse of medical equipment? I'll ask Kamal to answer that.
Thank you, Bill. While we don't have a published plan, we do have a process for reusing and recycling walking aids for both trusts, for HRCH and Kingston Hospital. We do encourage the return of these walking aids, such as walking sticks, crutches, and walking frames. And we do support their recycling. At Kingston Hospital, patients can return these to the physiotherapy department. And these are checked that they're still safe to be used and recycled, and they're cleaned and made readily available for reallocation to other patients. At HRCH, the walking aids are returned to a return point for patients at Teddington Memorial Hospital. And we have a contract with a company called NRS, and they collect equipment that are taken off-site for recycling and made ready for reuse. And as Joe said it earlier on, we do have the two sustainability leads that will help us drive this program forward even further.
Thank you very much, Kamal. So I'm going to draw the meeting to a close. Can I thank you again for coming to this annual general meeting, annual members meeting tonight. So thank you all for your attendance. Just before you go, there is one more bit of business that we'd like to conduct, and I'm going to pass over to Kathy to lead this item.
Thank you so much, Phil. So some of you may know that as a governor, you're able to run, you're able to be a governor for three-year terms, and then your term comes to an end. And sadly, we've come to a point where we're going to be losing a governor because of the structure. So we wanted to really celebrate you, Bonnie, and I know you've had before, but sorry, I'm going to do it anyway. So I think I first met Bonnie about 10 years ago. I can't really remember the context, but I'm sure it had something to do with patient involvement. And I think it was with the PPG. And to be honest, I was a little bit scared of her.
I'm scared of you.
She was such a formidable character and she knew her stuff and she wasn't afraid to let you know if there were things that you could do to make your service better. So roll forward a few years and here we both are as governors at Kingston. Pleasures being to work alongside you, Bonnie, for 7 years, and in particular the last couple of years in the lead and deputy lead role. Bonnie, as I'm sure you all know, is absolutely passionate about patient care. And she wants our patients to have the best possible experience. And she's absolutely dedicated to listening to patients and to amplifying their voice. And Bonnie is such a detailed person. She reads absolutely every single report down to the footnotes. And she can spot an inconsistency, an omission, or just something that just doesn't feel quite right. And she's not afraid to ask that stupid question. And Bonnie, you're not scary. You're kind and you're patient and you're never too forceful. You don't talk over people and you let people have their say even when you don't agree with them. And you've been such an incredible asset to this hospital. The time you put into chairing committees, attending committees, running reference groups, reading reports, feeding back and presenting is just absolutely staggering. And on a personal level, you've been such a huge support to me. We've had some pretty tricky situations to negotiate over the last couple of years. I've always known that I could go to you and I would get really calm and wise counsel. And I've always known that you had my back, and that's really meant a lot to me. So thank you so much for everything you've done. And we wish you well whatever you do next. And I'm sure that Laura and probably Tara are probably coming up with a new role for you as we speak. You know, you're not going to get away with it easily, but honestly, you've been such a fantastic asset to all of us. So thank you so much for everything you've done. It's not something to remember us by.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Pop those down.
Thank you very much. I'm really moved by all of that, and I shall be going. I'm not leaving the hospital because I just signed up as a volunteer. So. And I'm also a cancer patient partner for the hospital because you as a hospital looked after me and cured my breast cancer. So thank you for that. And as you said, I have been passionate about patient voice. Before Kingston, I was chair of Richmond League, the precursor of Watch. So I have been involved for Richmond for a long time. So I've known this all and been a fantastic leader governor to work with, Kathy. The trust is very great. Should be very grateful for having you as well as their lead governor. Because your dedication and leadership has been amazing. So thank you very much, and I will miss the board. I will miss the board meetings.
We are expecting you.
And it's just so nice to be able to back to face-to-face meetings because Zoom meetings are just don't work very well. So I shall miss you all and thank you for those very kind words. But thank you.
So just again, thank you all very much for coming tonight. I wish you a safe journey home. Thank you.